other participants.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope you are all doing well, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the third webinar of the Informed Voices Media Literacy webinar series. My name is Shalala Mehmedli, and I'm the Media Literacy Lead at STEP Azerbaijan, Society for Teaching Excellence and Progress. This webinar series actually brings together educators not only from Azerbaijan, but also from some other countries to explore timely issues related to media literacy and education. And through these meaningful conversations, we hope to equip our teachers with practical ideas that can help their students to become not only better language users, but also more informed, responsible, and critical digital citizens. So we are delighted to have you all with us today. And before we begin, just a quick reminder, this is a third webinar in our six-part series, and participants who attend at least 4 out of the 6 webinars and complete the attendance quiz will receive a certificate of participation. So we'll share the quiz link towards the end of this session. So please stay with us till the end. And now it's my pleasure to welcome my wonderful co-host from Romania, Mr. Dan Alexandru Chita. Dan, thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shalala. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to co-host today's webinar with STEP Azerbaijan. Our guest speaker this evening is Dr. Armanda Stroia. Dr. Stroia holds a PhD in philology and has nearly 2 decades of teaching experience. Her work focuses on the intersection of language education, critical media literacy, multimodality, eco-media pedagogy, and task-based language teaching. She regularly presents at international conferences, has published extensively in these areas, including her book, Linguistic Cliches in Romanian Media Discourse, and serves on the committee of the YATEFL Materials Writing Special Interest Group. Today's session is titled Bridging Language and Digital Citizenship Through Critical Media Literacy. As educators, as you do know, we're teaching in a world where our students encounter an enormous amount of online information every day. This session will hopefully explore how language classrooms can become spaces where learners develop not only language proficiency, but also the critical thinking skills needed to navigate today's media landscape with confidence and responsibility. We are truly delighted to have you with us today. Dr. Stroia, thank you for accepting our invitation. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, for the invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here with all of you. And I'm happy because of your initiative with media literacy to share some of my insights from my work on a topic which is very close to my heart, critical media literacy. So allow me to share my screen. And let's see. Could you please type in the chat if you can see or hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. So, before I start, I want to test one of your greatest superpowers, the ability to connect apparently unrelated things. So, what words come into your mind when you see these visuals in connection with our learners' relationship with media? And I can give you some clues. Let me see if I can see the chat at the same time. I can give you also some clues. For the first visual, it's the habit of continuously scrolling through negative content, online content, even when it makes you feel worse or overwhelmed or anxious, okay? The next one is an informal term for a mindset of a person who's going through life, through work, on autopilot mode, just following routines, instructions without questioning. And the last one, the last visual, there are 2 pictures there. It's an informal slang term used to describe usually the feelings of low quality, repetitive, addictive content which is making us, our learners, feel mentally tired, distracted, or less able to think. So let me see. I can't, for a reason, I can't see the chat. Let me see if I can. I'm trying to see the chat. Or if it's easier for you, you can unmute and tell me if you have any ideas. I can't see the chat. If you can maybe help me if someone has typed anything. If not, the first one is related with Doom.
So they have to relate their learner's relationship with media based on
Yes,
these photos, right?
these visuals, yes. Apparently unrelated. The first one, let me at least give you a clue for the first one. Doom scrolling. I don't know if you've ever heard about this term, doom scrolling. Let me see. The next ones are drone mentality, on an autopilot mode without questioning. And I think you're more familiar with the last one, with brain rot, right? Some of my learners say, after 3 hours on TikTok, teacher, I have brain rot.
Dear Armanda,
Yes.
just sorry for the interruption. Could you please move the Zoom window in the middle? Yeah, right.
Better?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
Good. So I think these terms are important because they describe, in a way, our learners' relationship with media. Just think about the fact that our learners live in an age where they are exposed to more media than ever in our history, but they have less space, um, fewer tools to think critically about what they're consuming. And this brings me to our media diet problem. Think about what kind of digital content feels like this. Like fast food, immediate, very tempting, addictive, right? Keeping your thumb scrolling, very difficult to resist, even for us, for adults. Very quickly to consume, but rarely nourishing from an informational point of view. I like to call these digital fast food. So, can you tell me what do you think? What type of digital content feels like fast food, digital fast food? And of course, you have those, those yummy donuts and fast food over there. Think about what? Maybe reels, TikTok reels, right? Or maybe AI generated text and images, or those headlines, which are clickbait headlines, right? Everything which is engineered to do what? To trigger immediate emotional responses. So, what can we do? These are served by algorithms, right? These viral memes, fake news, and what can we do in order to maybe not to become immune? Because no one, right? No one is immune to fake news, not even experts. Or to maybe we can have a sort of vitamin C in order to at least to diminish these cravings for digital fast food. So, what do you think is digital vitamin C for me, but maybe for you? What's your vitamin C against fake news, misinformation? Again, if you want, you can type in the chat. But Dan or Shalala, please help me because I can't see the chat. If someone is typing something there, or if you want, feel free to unmute and give me your ideas. There are no right or wrong answers. What do you think is vitamin C for me? in order to somehow reduce these cravings. For me, some other teachers in other groups in Paris or in Kazakhstan, they told me about criticality. But for me, it stands for critical media literacy. So let's try a guessing game. Before I show you that guessing game, I would like to make the best use of your time and share the mini agenda for today. First, we'll try to understand what's the issue about critical media literacy, what is it, and what it is not. And then I will share you an approach, a new approach to integrate critical media literacy into our language classrooms. And hopefully you will take away a toolkit, some strategies to implement into your classes. So I promise you that in order to understand better critical media literacy, I prepared for you a short game. So what can you see first? Here. Let's see. Any ideas? What can you see first if you look here? And remember, what you see first depends on the lenses you use. And what I want to point is that media does exactly the same thing. It presents frames and perspectives. So
we have a comment here. A bird?
yes, a bird. Yes, a bird. Exactly. That's a good first.
Rabbit.
Oh, good. Rabbit. Exactly. So a dog or a rabbit, duck people, rabbit people, or both. Okay, ready? Thank you. For the next one, I'll challenge you right now. Try to move your perspective, change a bit your position, and type in the chat, what do you see first? Let's see. I'll give you some time, and then I'll share some of my experiments with my learners and some teachers.
A girl.
A girl, yes, a young girl. Or there's also another perspective here. I don't know if you can see it.
I could see it, yes.
Can you don't want to share, right? You can see it. I'll share. So
Young girl. Mainly they are typing young girl.
Yeah, oh, so that means that they're very young. We have a young audience here.
And finally, an old lady.
Finally, an old lady. So if you see this, nose and here the chin of the old lady. When I asked my young learners, they could only see the young woman, the young girl, and they couldn't see the old person. And I needed to guide them. And when I guided and changed their perspective, oh, teacher, there's an old woman. So they were surprised, shocked. Other teachers from Paris, from another workshop, they could see mostly the old woman. So it is quite an interesting experience how they relate to these illusions, informational illusions. Okay, so I hope you've had some fun, but you could ask, okay, Armanda, but what's the connection between these informational illusions and critical media literacy? Well, I think this is a beautiful analogy to help you understand better critical media literacy as a tool to support our students in their journey to unsee informational illusions, to stop, to verify, to look from different angles, different perspectives at information. And if we keep this in mind, I think it's easier to remember this. Because we're still in guessing mode, can you type, what do you think is this visual about? Let's see, it should work. Yeah. Can you guess? Don't worry if you can't, just type any ideas. What do you think is this visual about? You see lots of numbers right there, and theoretically they should have moved across the screen. Actually, this is an
Oh,
algorithm.
diamond mosaic.
A mosaic. Very interesting. Very creative answer. Okay. Any other ideas? There is no wrong or right answer. I always encourage lots of answers just to see your creativity. And what it was supposed to mean here, an algorithm operating with hexadecimal numbers. And I think this visual captures in a thought-provoking way a point made by historian Yuval Noah Harari. Maybe you're familiar with his work and his book Nexus. I highly recommend. In his book, Nexus argues that, well, for millennia we were Homo sapiens, right? Endowed with reason, creativity, but it seems that we're evolving. Harari argues that we're evolving not necessarily into something wiser or smarter, and I know it doesn't sound flattery at all, into something which he calls, into something shaped, continuously shaped, which he calls Homo algorithmicus. So what defines Homo algorithmicus? Well, a creature guided not necessarily by reason, he says, but by predictions, suggestions, recommendations served generously by algorithms. So imagine this scenario, a future where students, our learners, they don't question what they see, they consume, right? Whatever master chef's algorithms serve them, scrolling, right? Liking, sharing. And you might say, okay, Armanda, this is not a far distant future scenario. It is actually happening right now. Unfortunately, we have a generation of screenagers always connected, but are they truly informed? You know that decades ago, we had that romanticized perspective of information that if we have access to information, if we give our students access to information, they are informed. But now, the problem is that we need to teach our learners how to evaluate the flow, the constant, the endless stream of information, right? To evaluate from various points of view the reliability of sources. Because the question is, are we going to let algorithms do the thinking for our learners and AI, yes? Or are we going to empower them with the tools to think for themselves? Now, critical media literacy, it is about this. There are lots of definitions in the scholarly literature reviews. Sometimes it is confused with media literacy. What is more than is not only about the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, not only about the deconstructive side, but also about the ability to create media in a responsible way, right? To respond, to create counter media. And we'll see some classrooms examples of how we can inspire learners to do this. Now, another trap, another problem is that very often when our learners see an image with many likes, thousands of likes, they fall into what Harari calls dictatorship of like, into that loop of clicking the button, the like button, and sharing without even analyzing the content. And the question I ask my students is, just because a photo has thousands of likes, does it mean that it's real, reliable, authentic? So I think that nowadays, we as educators, we should be aware that we live in a time when media amplifies engagement, right? Celebrates engagement over accuracy. We live in the post-truth era, if we think about. So we need to somehow empower learners to change their lenses, to question what they see and why they see. And another issue is that we are English teachers, okay? So an often question I get asked is, why should we teach critical media literacy? And I think the answer is obvious if we just look around, right? Media has permeated everything. It has become, as some researchers say, digital wallpaper of life is everywhere. Media teaches our learners how to think, what to wear, how to dress, how to fall in love, right? So I think we should avoid to fall into this neutrality trap. Some teachers are afraid that critical media literacy is a bit political, right? But I think that choosing not to discuss issues of media, representations of stereotypes and bias does not lead to neutrality. On the contrary, what happens? It allows hegemonic narratives to persist, right? Without being questioned. So I think we do have this responsibility as educators nowadays more than ever. Other myths surrounding critical media literacy is that teachers say, "Oh, we are so busy. We don't have time to add something more on our already crowded schedules and timetables, curricula." And the point is, what I'm trying to show you is that it shouldn't be time-consuming topic or extra layer to be added. We can organically integrate it into our lessons if we choose to do it through micro routines, and I'll show how immediately. Another possible misconception holding educators back is that, it teaches you, maybe brainwashes your students, or it teaches you what to think. But it actually just provides, students the tools to help them take informed decisions, how to think. I think it's more about metacognition, thinking about who is behind the message, why, and we'll see all those big questions about representation. So they have these tools in order to deconstruct and create, and they will choose what to believe or what not to believe. So now that we are aware what critical media literacy is not, I would like to illustrate briefly a new approach grounded in the neuroscience of atomic habits. And maybe you are familiar with the work of James Clear, one of my favorite books, transformative in all domains. I highly recommend. So if I am to keep the culinary metaphor of fast food, I have a question for you. If we just share maybe a documentary about fast food to our learners, does it mean that they change their lifestyle to adopt healthier lifestyles? Or maybe if we change what's on their plate slowly on a daily basis, maybe this can lead to better results. So in our cases, in our English classrooms, we all have those, projects, fake news projects, maybe once a module, or beautiful projects isolated. But I don't think this is enough. I think that we should try to embed micro routines. Why not maybe maybe form some habits, question media for 3 minutes at the beginning of a lesson, or have other micro critical media literacy routines I can share with you. They are not time consuming, and they can be, maybe if you don't have time, only 5 minutes, 2 minutes, depending on the moment of your lesson embedded. In order to understand how to form critical media literacy habits, I think it's important to understand the 4 neurological steps embedded in a habit loop. How do habits work? So first, there is a cue, always a cue. When you see that delicious cookie on the table, yes, we immediately have this triggers a craving, the craving for, to eat that delicious cookie. The response is, well, the response is that we just take a bite. If we make this analogy to the critical media literacy, whenever we see a viral meme as a cue, it triggers an emotional reaction, right? Maybe curiosity, the craving to click to see what's there, right? And the reward is, well, a high dopamine level, very short, intense. This is how habits work. And then I was trying to think, how can I, reverse engineer this habit loop in order to trigger different things in my learners? For example, when we have the cue, that headline, right, or the viral clip or an ad, maybe this is a cue for our learners to stop and to crave something differently. Maybe to crave that I want to be an informed citizen. I don't want to be manipulated, right? And the response should be stop. First of all, a pause and question, right? Stop. And I have this tool of a question mark based on critical media literacy framework, Keller and Share, two critical media literacy scholars from UCLA. I will detail this framework very soon. But you can also use SIFT, or you can use any simple question to stop and reflect. And the reward would be, in this case, again, a dopamine hit, but in this case, you are empowered. You, as a learner, as a person, you feel that you have a voice and a choice to believe or not, to make an informed choice. I don't know if it makes sense. I hope it makes sense. But once our learners understand this simple 4-step neurological loop embedded in every habit that govern our activities, then maybe they can apply this for their relationship with media texts. And if we think in terms of a bigger perspective, I think that we as teachers, we should try to shift from an outcome-based perspective when we are very focused on outcomes. I want to have for my learners to become good at critical thinking. Who doesn't want? But instead to shift towards identity, to work at the identity level. Why not try to encourage our learners to say something like, I am a critical thinker, or if they are younger, maybe you can encourage them to think like, I am a fake news detective, or I am the type of person who asks smart questions, right? If they're younger learners. What happens here is that we work at the identity level because according to research, habits stick only when they somehow match identity. Otherwise, if they don't believe in something, if they don't see themselves as the type of people who ask smart questions, who are fake news detectives, they won't be so inclined to go on this inquiry journey. And there are some misunderstandings about critical thinking, some barriers to critical thinking. Some of my learners, maybe your learners too, they believe that being critically literate means to be critical, right? To criticize everything, to be negative, to be skeptical. This is not true. This doesn't mean to be critically literate, right? What does it mean to be critically literate? And if you feel free to type in the chat or even unmute, if you have in mind any barriers to critical thinking in your mind, something that prevents our learners to develop these skills. One, as I was telling you, one possible would be, if you remember from the beginning of our webinar, drone mentality, thinking on autopilot mode, or being too skeptical, the idea that you need to be critical about everything, right? Instead of just looking at information from various perspectives, evaluating sources, or using some tools. And let me share with you some tools you can use in the classrooms in order to develop these critical thinking skills and critical media literacy skill set. Well, a first activity can be escape room. I think you're familiar with the idea of an escape room, right? It's very popular right now. And I was thinking about a digital fast food escape room. You can organize the students in teams and encourage collaboration. You can say, okay, students, guys, you have to work in teams, collaborate, and try to solve some tasks in order to escape the room, because you are locked maybe in a digital room of fake news, or the master chef algorithm, kept you a prisoner there. And you can use a simple PowerPoint, present the rules of the game, and then invite teams to see if they can escape. If you don't have time, you can only choose a 5-minute task or activity, like, for example, this one, the Mediascape Alphabet Challenge. And this is a challenge for you. I would like you to try to type in the chat if you recognize any symbols, corporate media symbols from here. And I can assure that your learners are very good at this test. I was surprised to see that my learners knew, I think 95% of the symbols. I wasn't familiar with all of them, but they knew, and they even created their own Mediascape Alphabet Challenge. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think. If you want, you can type in the chat, or just in your mind, feel free to see if you recognize some of the symbols. There is also one from Azerbaijan. I hope you can recognize it, and I hope it's okay. And then when you're ready, I'll share with you the answers. Are you ready? Or anyone brave enough to share?
Let's give them seconds.
Okay. Would you like me to share the answers, or do you still want to think a bit?
Please be active in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves and
Yes, feel free to unmute. There's again no right or wrong answer. I did have a lot of fun with my learners when try this activity, and I can share with you later the template if you want to use it in your class. And you can encourage your learners to create their own Mediascape Alphabet Challenge.
For example, D here stands for Disney,
Okay.
right?
What about F? I am sure that you can recognize the global symbols here.
Facebook, yeah.
Facebook, what? And the D from, I think, especially young learners, they recognize from
Disney,
yes, bingo, or I don't know if you recognize the first one.
yes.
Yes, right.
A traditional ornament.
Yes.
Oh, Buta.
What about this O from?
Oh, it's Oreo.
Oreo. Yes, Oreo.
Yeah, B for booking.
Yes.
It's
okay.
Oreo.
And for
B
my
for
I
booking.
said yes.
Yes.
And for
there is also
Netflix.
Lego, Pinterest,
Pinterest, yes. P for
QuickTime.
Super.
QuickTime. After Pinterest, it's QuickTime or something. So it was a program in computer.
Oh, media savvy here. So many media savvy.
Yes, something so.
Yeah,
Quicksaver or something.
I think for
Yes,
Turkey,
and also Galatasaray, Turkish Airlines, Yahoo, Zoom. Oh my God.
you
Wikipedia, Xbox, Honda. Oh my.
so basically here you have, I think, yes, you recognize most of them. And this activity was inspired by Jeff Shears, critical media literacy scholar, and this anthropologist, this term mediascape, coined by this anthropologist Apadou. And I think it's very powerful, especially if you give them some reflective questions and to ask your students, why do you think you are able to recognize so many symbols? It's very important after this activity to have this reflection. Why? And then they start thinking and thinking, well, because we are surrounded by media, media is everywhere, in the ads, on our screens, on our phones. So I think it's not enough, very restrictive to teach students only to read, right, the text in English. They need to read the symbols, to read beyond those, to read critically the media. But ask these reflective questions in order to understand better why are they so good at this? Why? This is a first step. Okay, I hope you liked it. Another quick game is this is something I would like to try with you. AI generated or real. Turn your students into detectives, right? AI detectives or stereotype detectives. In this case, can I give you a clue? Do you think it's an AI generated or real photo? What do you think? I think feel free to unmute and, express your opinions if you think it's a real one. Let me see if I can give you a clue here. I think if I click here, ideally it should show you something. Yes, I created an animation for you. A clue to go to the text. Probably you can't see it very well, but on a bigger screen you can, help your students notice. And I suppose you realize it's fake, especially because of the text. AI is still not very good, even if now it gets better and better, at text. And the fingers are unnaturally shaped. Sometimes there are 4 instead of 5 fingers or more fingers. So teach your students to look for these types of details, tiny details, text, and in order to identify. Or if the skin is too smooth, right? Another example that I wanted to share with you is this photo of Katy Perry attending a gala, and this is a bit tricky. It looks really, really real. So my question is it AI or real? Of course, you can give your students some time to think or just share their first reactions. This is a tricky one, and my learners had mixed reactions. Some of them say it looks quite real. Some of them said it's I think it's AI. The answer is somehow in between. So what happened is that it is fake, but uh, the idea is that Katie, hadn't attended that gala. The carpet was actually taken from another gala. So I think this is powerful, and it should trigger us to teach fact checking, right? Maybe using a SIFT tool. I'll share something about this because it is scary sometimes what AI can do nowadays, like taking our picture, video, and we appear somewhere where we haven't even been there. Scary, right? It's important to know how to trace the original photo back to the origin. In order to do this, some of you might be familiar with SIFT. It's a quick tool for lateral reading. And I remember, Shalala, that you had a guest I think, who also shared from the States, who shared, it's very popular in the States, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the SIFT tool. Maybe the members in the audience can remember what SIFT stands for. It's very popular, not necessarily in Europe, but I think more in the States.
Yeah.
Yes, when I was in March. And I asked S is from stop. So first, when you see something fishy, something, stop. Stop before sharing, stop before liking. Investigate. It doesn't mean that you need to spend hours and hours to become a Sherlock Holmes and get lost in the rabbit hole, right, of investigating. But just open lateral tabs. Try to find, alternative sources, coverage, right? And in this way, you can actually trace back to the original post, maybe to the original photo. So SIFT is very important. It's easy. It shouldn't take a lot. And even the first step, this stop, it works wonders, because at least you remember that you shouldn't just share something because it's very popular or without even reading. And there is a lot of research, even on Facebook communities, showing that people, even 70% of people, share posts, social media posts, only based on headlines without reading, which is, yes, impressive. And this leads to an activity I like to call headline surgery. So let's do something called headline surgery. What can you do in a classroom? Here's our patient. A headline, biased headline, as you can see, right? Emotionally loaded. And what can you do in the class? You can ask students to remove all these emotional triggers, right? And have a look, for example, at some trigger words like dangerous, which is an adjective specifically chosen to make you feel how? Dangerous. To make you feel maybe afraid, right? Just look at takes control. Now, when my learners worked with a headline like this, they tried to have it in a more neutral way, respond to protests, right? So this version, why is it better? Because it doesn't tell you how to feel, afraid, scared, right? It just gives you, I think, the basic facts. So you can decide, right, for yourself what to think, what to feel. And that word, dangerous, this leads to another interesting activity I like to call, going hunting for emotional words or emotional adjectives. Um, so basically, you take just a piece of text or headline and try to encourage your learners to work in pairs or in teams to circle the fear words, the triggers, emotional triggers. I would say the junk food ingredients, those sensational verbs, emotional adjectives, because what? They hijack our feelings, even our rationality. Even if we use reason, sometimes we try to fall into this trap, right? When we see these emotional loaded words. Now, I'm going to show you another tool, a big question mark, grounded in the framework authored by Keller and Scher, two very important critical media literacy frameworks from UCLA. They elaborated this framework around 6 areas, and they also gave some key questions for each area. Sometimes it might seem abstract for students, not necessarily, but for younger learners or for teachers working with teenagers and younger learners. And that's why I was trying to simplify it into a question mark. The first puzzle here, the piece, it's a question related to authorship. Ask or encourage your learners to ask who is behind the text, who's the author, right? Is it a company? Maybe it's a commercial purpose there. Maybe a non-human entity, AI in our case. How was the message constructed? It's very important because in media, nothing is accidental, especially in advertising. Light, color, sounds, effects, they all contribute to a certain effect in order to shape and to address a certain audience, right? And then you can think about who is this message for, and how can different people, understand this message in a different way. Then another important question is what's missing there, what's represented, what ideas, values are in that picture, text, and most importantly, what's missing, whose voices are silenced. This is a very powerful question, which leads to, social justice, because there are some people advantaged, some other groups are disadvantaged. I think with my younger learners, we, have got this question mark, and we analyze different media texts. And what we're going to do in the following minutes, I'm going to show you very quickly some very short media ads. They were banned, and please type in the chat after you see these ads, were they banned? So let's become stereotype detectives. Let's use that toolkit I shared with you earlier to deconstruct some stereotypes in this banned ad. And I think I need to reshare with sound here. Yes. Okay, so I'll stop and share again. Let's see. Okay, audio.
New dad too. Wow, look at this lunch.
Yeah, hard to choose. Oh, this looks good.
That's really good.
Well, that's the Philadelphia.
Let's not tell Mom.
So let me unmute. Okay. Let me share again my screen. Some food for thought. Any ideas? Any reactions? So if you want to have access to these three ads, you can scan the codes, QR codes, and you have access. What I do with my learners, I just share the guidelines, the guiding questions, and then they work in pairs and try to discuss, to debate. Now, any ideas? Why do you think were these banned, or at least the first one? If you remember the first case with the cheese, do you remember? There's two distracted dads by food, and they just forgot about their baby. Their baby is on the conveyor belt, right? And what it tells, what's the message here? That maybe dads are portrayed as incompetent caregivers, right? And even if the ad seems harmless, especially because of the humor, packaged there, learners start to become aware, if you ask some questions, of how deeply ingrained are some gender stereotypes in our culture, right? From simply noticing what's happening in the ad, the comic part, and then ask them, why do you think people complained to the authority to ban this ad? Because they they said what? That men were portrayed only as incompetent caregivers, right? Um, if we think about the Volkswagen's ad, what was there? What type of stereotypes could you identify or spot? I think again, women were portrayed as passive. Do you remember at the end of the ad, passively reading, taking care of the baby, while men were portrayed in adventurous, right, situations. Even the parathletic person, brave, right? The question is, does society, I don't tells us that maybe women are not capable of, engaging or becoming scientists, or I don't know, becoming NASA, people, or engage in adventurous activities? This can be a question we can ask our students. And the last one was obviously an overt, a blatant case of racial stereotypes there, because I think it's also very, amusing. But at the same time, in China, it was met with public indifference, not with this type of reaction we usually see it, because they said they tried to, I don't know, to stand out. They tried a sensational effect, even if the ideology is harmful embedded there, right? That blackness is associated with a stain, to be removed, to be. I think it's not only, the message is not only about cleaning, clothes, but also social, or social type of cleansing, which is really harmful. So I think these are very good activities you can use in your classrooms to deconstruct stereotypes or media texts. But do you remember, I told you it's not only about deconstructing, analyzing, it's also about creating. And what do you think happens when influencers, TikTok influencers, partner with media scholars, like NAMLE, which is the National Association of Media Literacy? Well, they create powerful infomercials to address fake news. And if you want to have a look quickly, I can try to share it again. Let's see, with sound. I don't know if you're familiar with this initiative. Let's see. Okay.
Hold it right there. This claim sounds fishy. Before you go any further, you're gonna wanna question the source.
Sam Starr, source investigator, will help you identify the source.
Are you having trouble knowing what to believe on the internet? You're in luck. I can help. It's time to ask questions. Let's identify the source and verify the credibility of the author.
Aha!
Just as I suspected, a bogus source. Now that's how you do it. Good work.
Sam Starr, source investigator.
Remember to identify the source, verify the credibility of the author, and always ask questions. And report accounts or content that spreads false or misleading information.
Okay, So you saw that it's included also valuable information, what to do, how to report the information. And your learners can create these infomercials. 1-minute infomercials, really powerful. If you want, I can share an example from my classroom, a real classroom example. But again, I need to share with sound. Do you want me to share a classroom example?
Yes, please, of course.
Okay, let's see again with the sound. Okay.
Aren't you tired of seeing stereotypes everywhere you look? Aren't you tired of seeing people being put into boxes? How many times have you heard people say things like, Asians are always good at math, boys shouldn't cry, or immigrants are uneducated, girls can't learn science? Wondering how can we break free from all of these labels? Drum rolls please. Introducing the unstereotyping glasses, designed not to change how you see, but how you understand the world. Wear these glasses every day to see beyond labels. Are you ready to truly see the world? These glasses are priceless. You can only buy them with empathy and kindness.
So this was a classroom example, a real classroom with a preteen. And if you saw, the format is simple. It's, I don't know if you can see my, just a second, see my screen. If you saw, there are only 3 parts of a media ad, right? So first of all, they learned what are those 3 parts of a media ad? A problem. They identified the problem, tired of seeing stereotypes, and then they came up with a solution, those glasses, which you can put on, and then what happens? You see beyond labels, right? And then the call to action. You can buy with empathy and kindness these types of glasses. So these 3 parts counter ad in order to challenge stereotypes. It's not difficult. You can ask them to create a 1-minute counter ad. They can choose any stereotype they want or any problem. And you will be amazed of how creative they can be. So to conclude, I think that maybe in our classes, it's easy to integrate organically critical media literacy. Why not on Monday try headline surgery on a news story or on a headline? Maybe on Wednesday, a 5-minute emotional adjective hunt, or rewriting those in a neutral way, those headlines. Or maybe on Friday, why not sift a viral video? Or why not use the toolkit, the question, to become stereotype detectives and analyze some types of media? I think it's not difficult if first we become aware and help our learners become aware of the fast food nature, if you remember, of our content. And then if we try to shift from those isolated heroic projects on fake news, instead replacing with 5 minutes micro habits routine, as you've seen, and empower your learners to question the ingredients using different tools like the SIFT or surgery headlines. And don't forget, most importantly, to cook their own recipe, to create counter media in order to share their voice, to reclaim their voice. And I know that as teachers, it's very important to have some ready-made resources. If you scan this code, I think you should have a link to a resource, UCLA. I hope it's still available. And I also have another link to ready-made lessons. I can share that link with you. You have lessons on brain rot, fake news. This is the website from The Economist, and you have lessons on doom scrolling, social media. I can share the link with you at the end. And I will end my session with this question. to think about if will we let algorithms or influencers or AI to do the thinking for our learners, or just give our learners the power, the tools to think for themselves. I think the choice is ours. Thank you. Thank you so much and for your patience. And any questions you have, please feel free to ask me. I'm always interested to run small and large scale research projects on critical media literacy. So feel free to contact. I'm on LinkedIn as well. If you are, interested in implementing various critical media literacy projects, I'm very happy to connect.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stroia, for such an engaging and thought-provoking presentation. You have given us not only plenty of ideas to reflect on, but also some practical strategies that our teachers can start, immediately implementing in their own classrooms. And now we'd love to hear from our audience. If you have a question, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask your questions directly, or alternatively, you can type your questions in the chat, and Dan or I will be happy to read them aloud.
Yes, please feel free
Please
to
don't be shy. We'd love to make this discussion as interactive as possible. And yes, and alternatively, we also have our own questions. Dan,
Yep,
would you like to
I'm here.
begin?
Yeah, I do have some questions for Mrs. Stroia. Now, how can teachers integrate critical media literacy into existing language lessons without feeling that they are adding extra content? Is that possible? Could we actually do that as teachers?
I think this is a great question, a question which has been on my mind for a long time. Yes, I think this is as I was telling you, we need to shift from projects, right? Integrating critical media literacy through projects, which are time consuming, isolated, to these habits. Do you remember I was telling you about the micro routines? So whenever we encounter, a traditional text and we discuss the text with the learner, why not connect with real life text? Because our learners will be more engaged if you come with a piece of news or headline, something that happened recently, and then give them the tool, the question, and work in pairs, ask them to work in pairs to figure out the answers, to find out, for example, who is behind who's missing in that image or that text, what different perspectives are there, or how can you interpret it in a different way, or simply that activity with emotional adjectives or headline surgery. Okay, because if you take these simple tasks, they will become getting used to the idea of asking questions and having this habit of stopping. You stop before sharing, stop before believing everything you see online. I think it's feasible, yes, to try these short routines, micro routines or habits. I was thinking about habits like H, hesitate, A, activate their connections with the world around them, ask them about, maybe ask your students to bring some videos or TikTok reels or pieces of headlines or texts which they found, and they can analyze together. So you don't have always this task to bring in the classroom materials. You can encourage them to come up with their own examples. And they love collecting, going hunting, and give them the toolkit, and then they become real detectives.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Troya. That's a really good answer. I will keep in mind your suggestions.
We have here one question in the chat. What would you recommend for undergraduate students expository writing course?
For a writing course? So, yes.
Could you please, Miss Rakshanda, kind of specify this question? Is it
Yes,
related?
with reference to critical media literacy, as you are suggesting the way to conduct in the class, we can implement this in the writing procedure as well. I am getting this idea, but CML is like for students, like school going students. If we talk about undergrad students, they lose interest in such kind of talk, that and they don't feel motivated. My question is how what kind of topics, like whatever we are bringing to them in the form of YouTube videos or TED talk, they don't feel any motivation or like interest in towards the lesson, that whatever we want them to learn.
So if I understood correctly, your question is how can you motivate undergraduate students,
Yes.
to I don't know, to try to implement these critical media literacy routines, right? There are some really good books or resources, C1, C2, depending on their level. But I think that if you, for example, if you remember those ads, short ads, 1 minute, even less than 1 minute, if you bring the ad in the classroom, put them in groups and give the tools in order to work more than at the surface level. So what can you see at the surface level? So you describe what can you see in the ad? Two dads, trying to distracted by appealing food and forgetting their babies on their conveyor belt. That's the surface level. Okay, the humorous part, and then go beyond that. For example, if you put on the marketer's hat, why did you create this, this text, this ad? The idea,
Yes.
what are the main values? What did you want? What's the main message? What did you want to convey? Maybe that, maybe some marketers told that they wanted to attract attention, right? They knew it was controversial. So sometimes it's a commercial purpose. They do it on purpose. They need to understand this as well in order to attract more visibility. I would say that, well, we wanted to share that dads can be actively involved in childcare. But other parts, then think, okay, change the hat and think about those people who complained. Okay, you are the people who complained to the authority that this ad should be banned. Because why? Why should this ad be banned? Because it basically conveyed somehow a limited perspective, right? That men are incompetent caregivers when they can happily take care of their babies. And I had some experiments with some of my learners sharing this counter media ad in which dads were portrayed as happily taking care, cooking, taking care of their family. So what is wrong with that? And then they reversed, and then women were, media owners and business leaders. So what is wrong with this? Or what is wrong with boys, or preferring pink over blue or something like this? But these are stereotypes. So just asking them to switch perspectives. Perspective switching is very good, no matter their age. What about the last ad, the racial stereotype? Those two, young adults. What's the message there? First it was humorous, right? But what happens with washing the black person and becoming an Asian? What's the message conveyed? What are the values? What's missing? The second ad is also very powerful. So I think we shouldn't underestimate the power of these ads, because you can go very deep. It's like an iceberg, At the very surface level, you see something. You see one perspective. Do you remember the game with perspectives? One perspective, maybe just the rapid, maybe just the old person or the young. What about if you change perspectives? Think about different categories of people. How would they interpret the media message in a different way? And that changes, I think, our perspective significantly. And they will discover new things. Don't tell them what to think. This is this is the problem. We shouldn't tell them what to think. Just to guide them, change perspectives. Tell me, what do you see now if you are a marketer? What do you see now if you are the Asian person? What do you see now if you are, the Black person? How would you feel? So it changes a lot. And I think these are issues of representation, of power, inequality, hidden beyond these apparently humorous, ads, and very nicely packaged there. But I think there's
Thank
a
you. Thank you. I think it's very good. Like, instead of just focusing on the ad and interpreting the information from the ad, we should invite their critique and let them explore and think about all this. And thank you so much for pointing towards this aspect of the.
Thank you for your question, and I'm happy I clarified it. Let them
Thank
explore.
you.
We shouldn't tell them what to think. Let them explore from various points of view. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Dear Dr. Stroia, I have one question. If participants remember just one idea from today's webinar, what would you hope that it is?
I was thinking that maybe the most powerful thing is that we should never tell our students what to think, but just give them some tools in order to empower them how to think about what media they see around them, how to analyze, how to evaluate, and just to stop. You remember the stop, the shift, the first step. Stop before reacting. Stop before sharing. Stop and question, and pause and question. I think this is the most important thing. If students can remember to stop before sharing, stop before reacting, and give them the tools, these small tools, in order for them to to think, to make informed decisions. We never tell them what to think. I think critical media literacy is all about metacognition, helping them how to think about what they see around them, to guide them. And then you will be amazed when students say, "Oh, teacher, that's a stereotype." I was saying something without even realizing, "Oh, can't boys use Canva? They should know." The teacher, that's a stereotype. Once they went through the process of deconstructing, analyzing, they are very eager to spot something. So you need to be careful. And that's a problem for some, some countries, because if we develop informed citizens asking questions, then it's not very easy, because you always need to answer.
Yes. Great tip, actually. Thank you so much. And many of our participants are interested in getting this PPT.
Yes, I can share if you want with you, and you can share with
Yes,
them.
I can later share it in our WhatsApp group. If you don't
Sure.
mind.
I'll share the Canva link so you can have it whenever you want to revisit some ideas. And if you are interested in critical media literacy projects or research articles, feel free to contact me. And
Thank you so much. And then,
Yes. Thank you once again, Dr. Stroia, for sharing your expertise and your passion with us today. And thank you to everyone who joined us this evening, participated, and contributed to today's discussion. Your engagement is what makes these webinars truly meaningful. Shalala, back to you for our final remarks.
Thank you, Dan. And once again, our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Stroia for such an inspiring and practical session. We truly appreciate your time, your insights, and your willingness to share your expertise with our educators. And of course, a big thank you as well to all of our participants for spending their evening with us. And before you leave, please don't forget to complete today's attendance quiz. And we hope that you'll all join us again for our next webinar in this series. And until then, have a wonderful evening. Take care, stay curious, stay informed, and stay media literate. and see you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your Friday evening. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Bye. Goodbye,
Heart.
everyone. It was a
Goodbye.
pleasure.
See you.
See you.
Thank you.